some ways, the new generation cables, the old ones are absolutely fantastic, but they make the move to a more environmentally friendly cable. But I don't know if it is more environmentally friendly. I've still got old ones that aren't environmentally friendly, that are 10 years old and still work. Exactly. The environmentally friendly ones, and this one has 7 months. So, yeah, it gets used a lot, but yes, in fact, those might be just over that. But it's.
As far as standard doing Oktoberfest, for for PRs on GitHub, you can like t-shirt from the digital version.
Okay.
So I can just for PRs. I check it, then it PRs on my own.
Hello. Yeah. Oh, you did that. What happened today? No. Cardboard box, possibly. Potentially. Side it or something.
Interesting.
Everything is your style, or you don't
We need to send the medicines places of the trees.
You got our own to switch over.
And also it's 10 minutes.
Stop work. It's actually used to go up the super function that's where you go. Then after you go through, there's not really what to do to go on money. Yeah. Perhaps I've got a little light from trying
That is the proven That's true, the NG rock holds out. I'm using NG rock tunnel to allow my local service. Yeah, assuming nothing else natural, like a workbook or something. It's on that machine, running in that power. And just staying with
Ah, yeah, that's perfect. Actually, we get some video mode, the resolution. It's not a very noble, because it's just. That's
It'll call that.
it's not the end of the world. Oh, it feels good.
It works.
What is it? Yeah, the temperature control.
Did you expect me to
Box stories.
It's like the showing tutorial and the time playing package and it potentially used for all of these uses cards and carry around. Thinking, well, it's only the back.
Someone's a bit more animated.
All back.
So I was in
Just me in the room next door. Sensor, with touchy on it, and just doing the remote lecture. Just like that, and then it was over. Rather than jumping around. Well, probably, unfortunately, if I'm moving one,
last year.
no, a lot of customers move to Portugal.
No, would rather, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's like
So this.
I never use this other thing. I can touch that.
What am I doing it on? I'm doing it on mesh generation, so 3 dimensions. Oh, in the medical.
Address in the sense.
So like.
Yeah.
Okay. Say you have.
Thank you.
Whatever. So what someone else is working on, they're working on segmenting.
All right, quite a few hacks.
Neural network.
No,
The reason accountant, my accountant can't do it, just
People said, yes, yeah, no, I have to still. To the web query buttons. Yeah, so then, what happened is an algorithm would watch over all those points and generate a hash. But that is probably ignore it. It's confusing.
Do you want to
Tables and chairs, just try not to obscure camera in the background.
Okay. Hello. Okay, folks, so welcome to the TADHack 2019 London Pictures. I'm sorry that I'm so loud, but when you're all pitching, if you could try and be this loud, that will be really helpful because the microphone is just over there. And actually, that's another point. As you pitch, you need to be sort of somewhere between the middle of the lectern and the stand over here because that's the field of view of the camera. We've actually got a bumper crop of pictures here today. We've got 11 or 12 hacks, which for a venue of this size is pretty impressive. And having been around and looked at the hacks, there are some pretty good hacks coming out of London. So I think this is going to be a fun pitching session. If you possibly can, as we go through the pitches, if you can sort of, I know we're all kind of tweaking the last bits of our presentations and all of those things. But being able to pay attention to the folks who are pitching is great if you're able to do that. Just on the logistics of pitching, 5 minutes pitch, 3 minutes questions, and maybe a couple of minutes to change over. So it should take us about an hour and a half to get through the pitches. And then we'll go into a local judging couple for about half an hour when we then come out and announce the local prizes. And then all of the hacks that are pitched today go into the global pool. And then there's a big significant global judging exercise that goes on, obviously because of the time zones across the 10 sites. That doesn't happen and isn't announced until 4 o'clock tomorrow, but there is a webcast of the global results tomorrow. I will send out an email first thing tomorrow to everyone with the details and coordinates about that and how they find out how they've done. Yeah, so if the first folks want to come up and start pitching their hack, so that's Sim and Node Library by Steve Goodwin and Lily Noah.
Do the mic if you plug in an HDMI cable. Oh, we're on the screen. Hello. So, as this part of the slide says, I'm Steve, that's Lily, and we created a Simwood API for Node or Simwood Node API. It's different on the GitHub to what it is in the NPM repository. So we started this as a plan. So the plan was, we had no idea. We turned up, we sat over there, and it's like, what are we going to do? And we had a team, we didn't have an idea or a clue or a technology stack. We thought, let's just have a look around and see what's there. And we saw Simwood and thought, okay, we'll have a go with that. There was no Node API, and as we're both Node developers, we thought, at least if we have an API, we can start doing something afterwards. So we started building an API, which is now available on GitHub. It does various account handling things, checking your balance, that sort of malarkeys. It's got SMS functionality, so you can send text messages through it, and it's got configuration control. So you can dynamically say, I would like to change the configuration of that number from the API. We got most of this done by sort of late lunchtime yesterday, so we were able to then push that out to Git and to NPM. in the hope that other people at other sites would be able to take it, use it, and therefore accelerate their particular hacks. It is still there. I'm accepting pull requests, and it is much more of a facilitating hack than anything clever using telecoms itself. The way that we've used it is we use the .env module and put all of our account details hidden away in the .dot file so that we don't accidentally show them on screen and leak our details. But it seems to work pretty well. It facilitated at least 2 or 3 other hacks that I'm aware of. And there are 2 people laughing, and I know why they're laughing at that statement. I'll explain the joke later, if you haven't worked it out by the end. And that's essentially it. It is a Node API. It doesn't have the whole Simwood functionality yet, but because there wasn't one, we needed one to explore. So we built one. And that's pretty much all I can say about it. And Lily doesn't want to say anything, so I'll just hand the mic back to Rob unless there's questions, but it's yeah. Thank you.
Anyone got any questions for Steve?
Didn't think so.
Okay, I have one.
Oops.
Where next? What's missing? What do you want to do to it?
It'd be nice to extend that back. It'd be nice to extend it to handle the rest of the functionality which isn't there presently. It would be nice to have a nice incoming API. One of the things that we did with Simwood, and spoiler alert, there's something later. Simwood has all these webhooks for things, which is nice. Good that you got a link beta for this. But we didn't get any proper API things in that module to handle webhooks. It was pretty much, oh, we need to handle webhooks, we'll do it manually over here for now. It'd be nice to put that stuff into the module again so you can make it much easier. Say, oh, someone's making a call and it goes to that same library. Those would be the next things I think on the to-do list. Oh, now Joe has a question.
Is it tested?
Of course it's tested. You know, you see the bit at the bottom where it says rewrite some tests. You didn't think I'd lie about something like that, did you? Yeah, of course I'm kidding. We won't no tests whatsoever. That's what users are for.
Awesome, thanks very much, Steve. We may be hearing a bit more about that API later as the afternoon goes on. Okay, next up is SimCube, which is Matt Williams and Yin Yi's input to this year. I don't know how many folks know Matt and Yin, but I think you're an absolutely solid 100% attendance record at TADHack London for at least the last 4 years, as far as I know, right?
Possibly.
Hello, yes, so I'm Matt Antini, and we've been hacking on SimCube, which is integrating Kubernetes with Simwood. So, I'm going to do a quick demo. Hold the mic. So, thank you. So this is Kubernetes dashboard. So this is basically Kubernetes is a way of managing containers. Containers are a bit like lightweight virtual machines. So I can quickly spin up new services like the free switch, which is what we're going to do in just a moment. I can do that through a GUI, but I'm actually going to do it through a command line to save some typing. But just to show what the configuration looks like, so I've got a load of configuration for free switch, and then I've got a thing called the stateful set, which basically says and then running. So I'm going to run that from here, regular version. And that's creates things, and if I go back to Kubernetes view, then it now says I've got a pod, which is what it calls a piece of software, and I can look at the logs from FreeSwitch, and it's starting my stuff up. I'll see if it's start up. And in the meantime, I will configure Simwood. So I'm going to create a new number. Okay, that. No. Try again. Yay!
What's the idea behind that? Everyone seems to pick the first item in the list, so if someone else does it at the same time.
I've got both numbers though.
Oh, well.
So yeah. Okay, so I think it's that other one. I'll configure that. I'm giving it SIP number, SIP URI, and that's the. Oh, I've lost it. It's a shame.
Your screen is not.
Oh, great. Try and switch it on.
This thing does take about 10 or 15 seconds to sync,
Right.
so if you make a change.
I didn't make any changes.
External, then it takes a few seconds.
No, it was just running through.
So if you plug it in or just even the side, the sort is like 15 seconds or so.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I don't know if you all saw, I created the email numbers. I've just configured a SIP URI. I'm going to save those changes. This is that number. So hopefully, it's playing the Tetris theme tune because that's one of the default things that FreeSwitch does. But this isn't the fancy bit. Save the records for now. That was all quite tedious. I had to do all that configuring SIMwood by hand. I'm just going to quickly unconfigure it and then show you how much simpler life could be. Cool, and I'm just going to also kill off everything from Kubernetes by just doing the delete. Yeah, so Kubernetes made it really easy to deploy FreeSwitch. That was all quite cool, but it took me 30 seconds, a minute, I don't know, a minute and a half to configure SIMwood, even though I knew what I was doing. Can we do any better? Hopefully we can. So Kubernetes already treats manages lots of different resources. It uses this kind of this file format that describes what you actually want to deploy in a declarative manner. So you can deploy things like load balancers and HTTP gateways and all that kind of stuff just by writing some text. But you can't do PSTN connections until now. So what we did, we built what's called an operator. This is a standard kind of Kubernetes design pattern. That reads in Kubernetes configuration and provisions SIMwood. One of the side benefits of this is that by having your entire configuration, including how it integrates with the PSTN, all described by one config file, you can commit to Git and use CI/CD and all that kind of thing to deploy it, which is commonly called GitOps. So I'm going to do a quick demo of how much easier it would be. FreeSwitch. So this config file.
That's the lead.
Oh, was it? Good spot. So this config file is basically the same as the previous one, except it also has a bit at the end that tells us my username and password, which I probably shouldn't be showing you, but also tells you about the services you want to set up. So it's basically saying, do all that stuff I just did, but automatically. And so if we then jump to the Kubernetes, we should see that it has deployed another pod. And if we jump into SIMwood and refresh, hopefully it's created a number. I'll just check the logs and say it's okay. We have got an error, but it's an error that we see all the time, and I think it's okay. This is a 500 error that we saw a moment ago as well. But it doesn't make us configure everything successfully. So if we go to the numbers and try calling that. We have the thank you very much. And then, yes, in terms of what we've done, so how does it actually work? So we've got Kubernetes, which is the big shift wheel thing. We've got our operator we've written, and we've got Simwood. We inject this deployment descriptor into Kubernetes, and use that to create free switch. But then also our kubesim operator is watching that configuration to be injected into Kubernetes, and it configures Simwood, and then that means that we can make receive calls. Yeah, and then this is where it was. It's all open source, so feel free to build on it. As well as actually building the operator itself, we wanted any Rust bindings. We've written all this in Rust because Rust is cool. And the only Rust bindings, rather than writing Rust bindings by hand, instead we created what's called an open API definition. So open API is a standard for describing APIs. So we used that to build, we created that API definition, and then we used that and code generator to actually build Rust bindings, and then we built the operator on top of that. Cool, that was everything. If you are interested in Kubernetes and want to know more, katacoda.com is awesome for learning about Kubernetes. That was everything I had. Thank you.
Any questions around the room for Matt? Do you think the Open API binding to be useful for Steve's Node API library?
Yes, you can generate. Thank you. Yes, so you can generate Node bindings from OpenAPI, you can generate Python bindings, you can generate C++, Java, all sort of things. I actually wrote the Rust version of the OpenAPI generator, so I think the Rust one's the best. But yeah, you can do the same thing across different languages. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next up we have Mohammed B with Repose. Come and tell us a bit about that, Mohammed. So another second time attendee at TADHack. Absolutely. So it'd be good at sort of dictating odds while you're and running order and finding the right video.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mohammed Habib. I'm a software engineer at Amazon, and I do have a teammate, but he could not come today. He's also a software engineer. I think he had to go to theater or something, so he couldn't join us. So I created Repose. It means peace and tranquility. One day I was doing a job interview over Skype, and I noticed they've introduced a cool new feature, which allows you to blur your background while having a conference call. So I thought it was really neat and really helped because my room is always messy and I don't want my interviewers to see how messy my room is. But the problem is that there's too many conference software out there and not all of them support this feature. I remembered also in the past that there is a software called Manycam, which allows you to apply cool filters to your webcam. And what it does is it exposes a virtual camera that you can select in any software within your device. And so it pre-processes your webcam stream and then broadcasts this to your webcam. Cool. So I wanted to reach that point. I'll show you where I reached, which is not so far. So this is my video, and that's my hopefully. So it kind of blurs out my background, as you can see. So this was done in OpenCV, and I just did the webcam streaming part. So for my feature, I use OpenCV. I want to get rid of that dependency because it takes half a day to compile OpenCV, and I want to encourage contributors. I want to implement the virtual camera driver, but it's a bit involved, so It involves some kernel hackery and it's quite OS dependent. So on Mac OS, I believe I need to use the Meteor Core API, which I'm still reading up on, and implement a UI that you can control from your tray. And that's it. Here's the link to the repository.
Any questions?
I really liked it. I'm just wondering, can you change the grade of blur?
The what?
Can you adjust the grade of blur?
Yes. Can I have the microphone? So what happens is it's applying a Gaussian filter, and you can control the size with a parameter. So you can reduce the blur or increase it as you want.
Great.
Anyone else?
Did you have a question about
Can I add one? The current filtering is obviously centered on the face, and it's actually blurring your sort of upper body and things as well. Would it be possible to expand that so that it was more like a traditional depth of field, so that the whole of the subject of the front is unblurred and the background is blurred?
That's cool that you noticed this. Currently I'm only running a face tracker, which is a bounding box around your face and blurring everything except that. I think there's ways to do more localization, so actually detecting the face mask and potentially the body, but yeah, it just needs more image processing hackery.
Okay. Thank you. So next up we have Time Journey, which is a hack by Joe Reeve, Wade Lichmer, Nadia Lanova, and Lucy Caff.
Have you ever been listening to a story and it gets to a really intense part of the story and you want to know what happens next? What is this character going to do? How will this situation unfold? What is going to happen? If you're watching a TV series, you have to wait for the next episode. Or if you're listening to the radio a very long time ago, listening to one of the serial programs, you have to wait until next week. What makes books different and stories different in general in a written format is that you don't have that suspense. You can flip the page whenever you want. We've decided to try to find a way to tell storytelling in a way that's innovative, in a way that's unique, and in a way that suspense is naturally built into the storytelling process. And that's how we came up with Time Journey. So if you guys would like to try the app on your phone, you can go ahead and do that now. You can go ahead and see what we've put there. Basically, what we've put is a selection of diaries, expedition logs, anything that can be and should be broken down into a time box for that event. So if you were to, for example, to think of Bridget Jones' diary, everything that she has written, she has a date, she has a time, and there's a feeling around the things that are happening. So one of Bridget Jones' first entries in her diary is she's talking about that after Christmas glut feeling and the heaviness that she feels from the holidays. What better way to experience that than to read that diary entry around the same day? What would you be experiencing at that time? Maybe you've also been a little bit overindulgent on the holidays. Maybe you're feeling a lot more empathetic to her situation than you might normally be. Telling stories in this way, aligning the times and dates of these different narratives with the real time in the year changes the perception of the story. It changes your mood, it changes your feeling. When you're reading in a diary about a cold day, and you're walking around in December, you feel the cold. If you're reading it on a beach, you don't get that same effect. And that's one of the reasons we decided to go with this app. So the user personas that we created are the casual reader, the person that doesn't necessarily want to carry books around in their bag, but wants to do something better, more interesting with their time than scrolling through Twitter feeds mindlessly. It's also for writers. It's for the creative people that would like to get their stories into the world in a new way and be able to share their stories in real time with the readers around the world. And that takes us to the code part, which I will hand over to Joe.
So we are using the Telespan API to deliver text messages, basically scheduled text messages. We're using a Node.js app hosted on Heroku. For the Telespan API, we're using a tool called SM Simple, which you'll hear about later, which is built on top of Steve's Simwood API node module, which is also using some of Rob's code as well. We're keeping subscribers and that kind of data stored in Postgres. So it's a pretty simple Node Express app. Yeah. There you go.
Anybody got any questions for the time team?
I like that.
I just went on the website and I noticed a whole bunch of stories, and then there was a phone number that I could go to. I'm not sure, do I text it or do I ring it?
It may be that things are rendering weirdly based on browsers because you didn't retest that already.
I'm on Mac, sorry.
So-
Sorry, Firefox.
So if we, on a mobile, if you tap something or if you mouse over it, this is actually an input. So you can type in your own phone number. And then you hit go, and then it'll start sending you text. So Happy's diary will send you one a day, every day, with his diary entry from that day in 1966, or no, 1666, whatever it was. And then with the Trump campaign, election campaign, these are specific dates that, or events that happened on that day a few years ago. And then, yeah, we've got like Easter, so if you want to get stuff like this is when this is happening, read the Easter story, or Columbus, Discovery of America, or bacon recipes, where you get a bacon recipe every day. So there's a bit of a range of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Fantastic hack. Good to see something so well developed, really nice UI on it.
Oh, it's on GitHub. So it's somewhere up here.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so next up we've got Rabbit Desk. So this is one of those hacks that already has its own URL, so I believe on Rabbit Desk.
It's fake.
It's fake. Oh no! Punctured my.
Hi everyone, we are rabbit.ai. What are we solving today? On a daily basis, small and large businesses lose the part of revenue because they can hire wonderful people like you. They also, on an average, it takes 25 days to hire a person, a wonderful coder like you. And also, that generates a lot of bad experience on the candidate side as well as on the company side. So what's the solution? Obviously, it's Rabbitix.ai. So what are we? We are an automated hiring process. What it does, it reduces the time to hire people, which in turn improves the experience of the candidate and also saves time and money for the business.
So guys, I'm going to talk you through some of the architecture of what's going on before we do a demo with you. So we have an applicant audio input. So this is a phone call, and you call the number provided by the employer, and what's actually happening in the background that you won't be able to see in the demo is Simwood is authenticating the user and redirecting it to a particular Twilio number. So the Twilio number, it could be for a software engineer role, project manager role, it's all different, and the conversation between that number and the applicant is different based on the number that's being called. Additionally, what Twilio is doing is pulling variables from the resume. For example, your university, certain companies you worked at, you'll see it in the demo. Then after that, when that happens, when the conversation ends, Simwood sends a server post request to tell our server that the conversation is finished, now request the transcript from Twilio. After that happens, we send the transcript from our server to AWS Comprehend, which analyzes the text. So it analyzes for sentiment, for main topics, and that can actually be seen on the employer dashboard. So to talk a little bit about AWS Comprehend, all it's doing is it's extracting key data from the conversation that's being had, like topics, sentiment, language, and more.
You have a trial account. You can remove this message at any time by upgrading to a full account. Press any key to execute your code. Good morning, Supriya. We are calling you from Apple. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's get started. Can you tell us more about why you love physics?
I love physics because there are a few fundamental laws that explain the whole universe, from atom to galaxies.
What were your favorite courses at University College London?
I studied MSc Entrepreneurship at UCL. Marketing and finance were the two subjects that I loved a lot.
What did you like about working for Google?
The flexibility of work was the main driving factor for working at Google.
Thank you so much for your time. If you are successful, we will reach out to schedule a final behavioral interview with you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So what happened there was, once the call was finished, a CDR record was created and Simwood was configured to send a post request to the server. And oh wait, where did the sentiment go? Oh no. The sentiment was. Oh wait, it didn't print. Guys. But in our earlier testing, it would give us a sentiment value. In this case, it would have been positive, along with the score for this demo, but for some weird reason, it didn't print.
If you go back to the presentation.
Let me head back to the presentation.
So this is a brief demonstration about what the employer dashboard would look like. As you can see, you have some of the other candidates, this particular candidate's references, and some of the information being displayed as data. So it's where we want to bring the time from 25 days to 5 days, analyze the resume, do the initial interview, to schedule a behavioral assessment, and then or the offer in 5 days.
And we are not the only people who are trying to do this. But how do we differentiate? We can integrate into their actual workflow present in the companies. We are cloud-based solutions. We are fast and efficient to deploy. We are a scalable solution. And apart from that, we are user-friendly, we are more engaged and cost-effective for companies and businesses to employ. And how is this possible? This couldn't have been possible without Dominic and without Oscar. So this is the lovely team that has made it possible. Let's hire the best, the best. Thank you so much.
So this is the ng-rock, or sorry, the URL for the server there, and then so that's the webhook in action, and that's the number here is what we were actually calling, and then that was routed. So that's the use of Simwood there.
Thank you again.
Any questions around the room? So do I understand correctly, the idea is that the CV or resume is uploaded and then you extract information about the candidate and then generate the questions based on that?
Yeah, so what's happening right now, Indeed and all of those, there is a filtering process, but we do that initial filtering process and then there's additional process with the phone interview. So that will be your initial phone interview with whatever company. It takes UCL or Google or whatever, it takes key variables that we always have. We all have the same kind of variables in our resume. So.
How do you detect when to move on to the next question? Is it just by silence? So if I come off or...
So at the moment, how we do it, we have like a qualified pause timer that we have coded in Twilio, but we can change it as we learn more about the process. Like when people take longer pauses, if someone is stuck in a question, we don't want them to be bothered about it, rather than to move to the next question.
And at what stage do you think this would come in? Is it like pre-screening or more later stage of interviews?
I think it's more of the pre-screening stuff that we are doing. Sorry, my voice.
Anything else? Thanks, folks. That was awesome. Spring, I hope your voice gets better soon. So yeah, next up we've got Steve and Lily, this time with Who Calls Me.
I'll let you set up. I'll improvise at the front for a bit. You know, there's a saying in show business that you play every theatre twice in your career. Once on the way up and once on the way down. Well, it's nice to be back. Are you ready? Really good. So we are still a team, and we are still similarly geeky, and this is a thing called Who Calls Me. So this was born out of finding a solution but not actually having any problems to solve. So we started off with the first hack. We got this API and we thought, okay, Simwood is doing some things. What on earth are we going to do with it? And there's two things in there. We thought, okay, these could be twisted into doing a thing. One was the API lets you upload a config. That's a programmable config. There's an idea there, and there are webhooks. So you can make the call, you get the webhook, and then you can do something with it. And combining these two, it seems like, what if we receive the webhook, we then have a look, we say, okay, let's redirect this number either over there or to a busy number, because we can upload a config dynamically. And that's what we did. We did a very simple called forwarding system, where depending on some logic, it would rewrite the config of the number. Only one problem with this, it doesn't work. You make a call into Simwood number, and it goes, okay, let me get the config. It says I want to forward it on, but it knows where it's going to be going when the call is first made. You can have a delay on it, so you can say, I want to receive a call coming in. After 6 seconds, I will make the call going out. But it doesn't reload the config. So when the webhook happens and it says we're starting to make a call, you can rewrite that config as many times as you like, but the API won't pick it up. So we then thought, What if we return the config we want from the webhook? Someone places a call to the SymWord number, the webhook fires, let's then return the config to say where do we want this number going. Only one problem with this, it only works at TADHack 2020 because they haven't written that bit yet. So we had to quite literally hack it, and we found a way around this problem. And that was we bought two numbers. You get a webhook, that calls into the first phone number. That bit works. When that webhook fires, we then program the second number with the real phone number that we wanted to call, based on some logic. Then after 6 seconds delay, which is part of the SymWord API, it then routes the call through to the second SymWord number, and then that SymWord number straight away forwards it to the phone that we want it to go to. And by doing this rather comparatively simple hack, but rather ingenious, it actually works. And as you can probably guess, since there are two of us in the team, one is at the front of the room with a microphone, one is at the back without a microphone, you can guess which of us is going to take credit for the other person's work. So I came up with this wonderful, fantastic idea of using two numbers. Now this is the point where we try and hope that the demo gods are shining, and I'll try and make it cool. So if I call me, put this on speaker. This is the 6 second delay that it's waiting for to rewrite the config in the second phone number. You see that's now calling? And Lily, if you come back in the room, you can probably hear that that phone's ringing as well. Yeah, I picked up. Yeah, you picked up. Say hello. Hello. See, it really is making a call. So I'll terminate that phone now. I will go back to our code. That was the happy path, where everything works. Started up the server again. This time, we've switched a little flag which says, I'm going to pretend that I'm busy. So I shall make that call again. Put that on speaker. It calls number A. You can see some trace messages coming through. It looks at it, it rewrites the config, and says, this time I want it to be busy. That's the busy tone. And Lily's coming back. No, not that one. We go to Chrome. And what you also see is there was a text message which was sent to my phone saying, I've blocked a call from blah, 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 because we are proving a point for TADHack. Now, it's all very well swallowing a signal. Someone tried calling me, but if I didn't know that they were trying to call it, maybe it's legitimate. It might be a sign of a false thing. So we sent an SMS through a SymWord API written in Node, fantastic API, and it actually worked, which was quite good. So it sends me a message saying, oh, by the way, this person's trying to get in contact with you, but you can probably ignore it. You notice on that, we start out some of the numbers. In the real thing, it gives you the full number, but because that's Lily's private number, we don't want it going on the video. My number, on the other hand, no one cares about. So these are the bits that we used. Two numbers to trick the system. Webhooks that configure the second of our numbers. Ngrok lets us have that server locally. Node.js, which we know works. But so far, we haven't found a problem. All we've done is demonstrated that we can change a destination of a call. We don't have a problem with solving. And then we actually realized, well, I'm a millennial. No one's going to pick me up on that. Okay, I'll go on with that. I'm a millennial, which means sort of three things. I am incredibly young. I hate the stereotype of me liking avocado toast. I don't. And secondly, I hate telephones. I mean, it's a great device for the web. It's a great device for text messages. But I really hate it when a phone call comes in. And because I've got this thought, it's like, okay, that's the idea. A message comes in, and I want something programmatically to say, is Steve really going to be bothered by this call, or should we just send it to busy, hoping that person goes away? And that's essentially the problem we ended up solving. It's like, I don't want to get a call telling me I've been involved in an accident, or that I'm getting a call from a robocall saying, we are the government, we want to take all your money away, you have to, because you're on mitigation or something. I don't want that. So this is where TeleSign comes in. Because TeleSign has got this API that says the number blah, blah, blah is probably a bit dodgy because, and if we go to some of the code, it will say whether this number has previously been blocked or been considered bad, whether this number is a VoIP number, and if it comes in as a VoIP, then there's a reasonable chance it's one of these call center things. So we call the API, which is the TeleSense one, and we look at what it returns, because it does a whole load of logic, so it's like, well, let them do the clever logic, we'll just look at a result and do something different. And then we switch over from the busy thing to the forwarding thing. The other bit, which is this who called, is another API. What's all that about?
So I often get calls with random 08 numbers and I never know what it is and I never pick up because I can't be bothered. And my first port of call is usually going to who called me and check if the number is listed. So we've added an extra check by scraping this website, making a little library here, and if the number is listed as dangerous, we'll automatically reject the call as busy and send you a text message to tell you why we rejected the call.
That's exactly what it does. What do you think of the code? Shall we show the code? See how clever this is? That's how much effort is necessary to create an API these days. So we've used, as we say, we've used Similar to do the call forwarding, the reprogramming of that. We've used TeleSign to work out, as the first pass, is this a good number to use, and then who called as the second pass. Same as virus checkers, you always want two because one will catch things that the other doesn't, and vice versa. And we thought, oh, okay, that's quite good, that works. But then we kind of ran out of time to do the next bit. Because I wanted to do some bits with SIP. I've not really done SIP. But in future, instead of sending it into a busy tone, what would happen if we sent it to a SIP line? A SIP line that's got a chatbot on the other end. So then these spam callers, instead of annoying me, can talk to a chatbot for half an hour. Because every half an hour, they're talking to a chatbot, trying to convince the chatbot that they should be buying insurance or some other rubbish. That's half an hour an actual person that might be gullible, might fall into that trap. So that would be a good extension. As I say, we ran out of time and the pieces arrived, so humanity will have to get saved another year. So I think that's everything. Those are the bits that we used, that's what we've done. Questions? Yes?
Why did you choose to do an index of looking for the API rather than use Cheerio or something?
It was one of those things of, what should I do? Oh, that looks about right, I'll just do an index of the text. I love it. There are times I can't be bothered to do anything more than what's absolutely necessary. It's called realizing the beer on your desk is going warm half the time. But it's also the case of, yeah, I could have done it.
Also, do you think it's possible to detect if an incoming call, like in your delay before forwarding the call on, to detect if it's a robocall based on what it's saying? And if so, would that then accidentally block your job interviews?
I don't know, but that is a very important question. We can't be blocking our job interviews. As far as I know, you can't detect whether the call is going to be a robocall. You might be able to know that this number, because what call says, oh, this is robocall, you could sort of filter it that way. What you could do instead, which is not a new idea, you could actually make the first phone number endpoint to be another chatbot that says, thank you for calling Steve's phone. If you are on a robocall, press 1 or say 1, and then put some sentiment analysis on there. And if the sentiment analysis realizes this is a robot voice, it just drops the call. And you could do that as a step. Same as you could do sort of whitelisting in that way. We found a piece of logic that says, well, I know I can forward a call to either a real number or forward it to the busy tone. And it wasn't until sort of, very late on in the project, we realized, well, the logic is getting rid of spam calls and junk calls. There's no reason that logic couldn't be something else, such as, let's just check you've been whitelisted. Have we spoken to you before?
I'm not a robot for phone calls, right?
Yeah. If you can answer, like a capture would be a very simple thing. A little bit like that, just say, can you please give your name for, to connect you with Steve? And if it sort of says, you know, my name is Robot47, that's instant jumping.
And I guess with this, because you've got the double SIM with just phone numbers, does that, I guess, cost twice as much and have a delay?
It would cost twice as much because you're buying twice as many things. The delay we put for 6 seconds was just, we want to make sure it works.
But I mean, the forwarding, like, delay in speaking.
Yeah, there is a delay, but it's not a lot. And because you never hear both sides of the conversation, you don't realise that it's delayed. The 6 second delay, which I thought you were going to allude to, is because that just works. So 6 seconds is more than you need to rewrite the config of the second number. But we just want to make sure, you know, if we can change that to 1 second and it would still be fine, I want to completely guarantee it because I don't want the demo to mess up. I'm trying to show off, but I suppose that it's got to work. Other questions?
Thanks, folks. So next up, we've got E. Francesco, which sounds like quite an interesting hack. Apparently, it's around automating an entire sort of complicated process. And so I'll leave it to you guys to explain this. So this is Isfan and Matthews. Is this your first TADHack?
Just for me, second from
Second.
I think, yeah, really got it. It wasn't working.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Mattis, this is Ishwan, and our project is called eFrancesco, based on real life Francesco, who is an acquaintance of ours. Essentially the problem we're solving today is a problem of a promoter for high-end clubs, nightclubs in London. Currently what he does on a daily basis is he sends out messages like the ones on the right to contacts in his directory of 20,000 people. And based on the responses, he follows up with them quite manually, sometimes calls them back or messages them on WhatsApp and gathers all sorts of information like how many people are going, where they want to go, etc. And then goes them on guest lists into the clubs on the list that you can see here. So what we thought is that the process inevitably needs human interaction because the promoter is the one who knows the clubs, who knows the people, but the amount of human interaction can be reduced drastically.
So if we're going to the demo, this is our architecture. So we have a store where we store all the contacts and the clubs and whether is there an event for each of the clubs for today or not. We have a broadcaster which can be scheduled as a cron job. It's a simple process which takes all the contacts from the store and builds a message that you saw in the previous slide and just sends it to all the contact, but spams everyone pretty much in this in this store. Then we have a responder service, which is that service running in the cloud. So SIM boot relays the messages, the responses to this service. And this is the service that asks follow-up questions. For example, how many people do you want to go out with? Once you answer all the questions, the request for your booking is stored in another store. And then this store is goes into another process which we call confirmator, which is an iterator through all the requests, and Francesco can approve or reject each of the bookings. We also have an audit log where we log all the bookings that ever happened, which feeds into a data analytics tool that can be used by Francesco for cool stuff. So as I mentioned, we use Symbol to send and receive text messages. The web service is running using Flash. The database is pretty much just a set of files currently. It was a hackathon, right? So didn't go too overboard with that. The broadcaster and the confirmator are simple scripts you can run in the shell, and we used Pandas, Seaborn, Matplotlib for data analytics, and everything is written in Python. So now for the demo.
So now we'll see the Francesco in action sending out the first.
Okay, so I started up the responder server. First, let's broadcast some messages, which is pretty much spam everyone in our contact list. So now I got the message. We see that tonight we have 3 parties. I want to go to toy room, so I say number 3. And then I get a message asking how many people do I want to bring. So I say it's going to be a crowd of 6. And currently, this is the only follow-up question we have. So we finished our booking request, which is now stored in the backend. So Francesco can now go run the confirmator, and we see the booking that each one wants to go to toy room in a group of 6. I can reply Y or yes or no. For first, I will just confirm the booking, and I will get a text message from Francesco saying we are booking for toy room for tonight. So the other, this is the happy path, and everyone is happy, and your booking was successful. But there might be a case that the party that you selected can't accommodate your party size, for example, for that night. So I want to go with a group of 12 now. My booking is done. So Francesco again can go to the confirmator, and he's now going to reject my booking because, well, for some reason the club doesn't have enough spots for me. So then I will get another message from Francesco saying that my request couldn't be accommodated. So I want to select another club for tonight. And this can go on until you will find a club that can accommodate your booking.
So that was Francesco in action. Now automating this whole process also gives us a bunch of useful data that could help Francesco in the decision-making process when it comes to future requests. So what we've done with the audit log is we did a bit of data crunching on that. So for example, we figured out, if you go down a bit, sorry, yeah. This is the crowd size that Francesco usually gets in, which is a beautiful bimodal distribution. You can see that most people are in either in a crowd of 5 or 11. This gives you an idea of what would be incoming. Yep. If we go further down, then we see the most outgoing people on the top here who put 54 requests in, and these are the most usual crowd sizes as well. Down at the bottom, we see for every contact their favorite club, their favorite crowd size, and their favorite day of the week to go out, which could also help in reaching out to them on those days. Then we see a simple regression, which shows us a negative correlation between the crowd size and whether you're going to be booked in or not. So we see the more people you want to bring along, the less likely you'll get in. Then we did a bit of analysis on the crowd sizes that the clubs allow in or not. So we see that usually, if you go with more people, you are more likely to be rejected entry to the club. And then this is again the number of people who got into these clubs and the number of people who got rejected based on Francesco's requests. And this is a booking matrix. So essentially for each person and each club, there is a probability based on previous bookings. How likely are you to get into that club? And this is a heat map of all of that. So as you can see, each one is really not likely to get into Cuckoo. On the other hand, Mike in Tonsaria, that's a perfect match. Then we did an analysis on the days. So weekly Saturdays and Sundays are the most popular ones. And lastly, just a quick
check of the days. So this is the number of requests coming into Francesco based on what a week is. Improvement points. So since this was a hack, our data storage is just sparse, so that could be developed. We can add more questions and responses. Currently, we are only asking for which club and how many people you want to bring on. There could be a graphical user interface for the confirmation of the bookings. If one really wants to rewrite the whole thing in Java. We could also, based on the audit log, we can add a recommender system to Francesco to help with future bookings. For example, the booking metrics that you serve with the probabilities, and there are many others that we didn't have the time for now. Do you have any questions for us? Where did the data you did the analytics on come from?
Randomly generated to show like
Some data.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Why Java?
sorry.
Why Java?
It's my personal preference in production to not run Python. First of all, I like Java really much, so that's why. Thank you.
I think a Jupyter notebook might be a first for TADHack. I think. I don't think I've seen a TADHack with built-in analytics. So fantastic. Thanks, folks.
Cheers. Thank you.
Okay, next up, who have we got next? I think it's Steve again with Fighting Fantasy.
Yeah, you know that bit where they say about someone, and this is a person who needs no introduction, well, because I've done them twice already. But the important bit on this slide is the fact it's only got one name. It's me, it's all mine. And it's all Joe's fault. Because we were talking last night with the beers. Lydia had gone back to work on something or other, and we were just chatting on stuff about stories. And it's like, yeah, I know you're doing a story thing, that's amusing. Reminds me of the stories that I used to read when I was a kid. Not those stories, not the time-based ones, but these stories. Anyone ever remember these? Fighting fantasy books. These are slightly more grown-up versions of the Choose Your Own Adventure. They've got 400 paragraphs in them, and each of them, you know, this is City of Thieves, so it's, the stairs lead into a small room against painted red, sitting at a table. It's not Shakespeare, but it's good. But at the end of each section, it says, are you wearing a scorpion brooch? If you are, turn to 392. If not, turn to 215. So every little paragraph, and that's not a lot, it's not a big read, it's not a lot of text there. So you would read this piece of text and you'd say, what do I want to do next? And you turn to the appropriate section. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, this is sort of fairly microfiction, very easy to read, fairly casual. I wonder if you get it in a text message. Because I've written this API, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I wrote this API that talks to SimWord that lets me receive text messages and also send them. So I thought, okay, I happen to have a chunk of data for this particular book. Doesn't everyone have a JSON file that describes how books work? No? Just me. So I thought, okay, fair enough. Let's have a go. So, why have I got the App Store up? Okay, let's use Set API. And let me hook in that data with that API. So I'm going to text the word begin to the TADHack number. That goes off to the server. You are standing in front of a guard at the city entrance. Reply with the number that matches your action. Telling you wish to be taken to Nicodemus, text the number 202. Telling you you have some stolen beauty, text number 33. Attacking quickly with your sword, text 49. So, okay, I'll do 202. I can do any of them, by the way. I've done more than 2 numbers on here. So let's have the number 202. I send that It tunnels back up to the server via Symbols API, and the guards try to arrest you. So you could play the whole game, the whole book, via text message if you so wished. Because there's nothing to stop you, it's simple enough. The code do we have the code? Yeah, I'll show you how simple the code is. No, I better not, because that will, damage my credibility of being a genius programmer. But basically, you've got two options. You say the word begin, and the game begins. It creates a new state. It matches your phone number to the current state of the game, which is what page you on, what object have you picked up. And if you've got begin, then it's a page number, and you can say, go to page 202, switch to 34, or whatever. The game data file itself is this one. And you can see each page has got what actions are possible, what is allowed. So you can validate the user's input to make sure they're not trying to go straight to page 400, which is the end of the book. And it still uses those page numbers. A lot of menu systems, when you get your call, it says, press 1 to do so-and-so, press 2 to do this. Well, if you did it for that, it's going to be pretty dull. Every page you read a bit, it says, press 1, press 2. I wanted to maintain the essence of this book, which was trying to get to page 400. So the numbers were important because they gave you a clue as to how the book was unfolding. It also means that if you keep the page numbers inside the text message, which means nothing. Pages are related to the book. In a text message, they're irrelevant. But if you keep them, then you as a player can say, if I turn left from page 47 and I arrive here, and it's the same location if I turn right from 57, it means drawing a map of the world and understanding the game book that you're in just becomes that much easier. So I've kept all that stuff in. But as I say, it is a fairly simple hack, but this is what happens when you're chatting over beers and there's a pizza and you're thinking, I wonder if I could just do that. And it turns out you can, which keeps me amused. So, I mean, for the future, there's a lot of other things I could probably think about doing. I mean, I'm sending SMSs and getting them back, doing the game logic, but I could change all of this. I could actually have this so it was a text-to-speech thing. It would be a voice call. I could put that into Alexa as well, if you like. It's the same kind of process. I could use voice acting instead of text-to-speech. I could use DTMF tones to control it. I could make little games, so when you're fighting the orc, a number can be read out, and you've got to DTMF that number back in a short enough period of time to thrust your sword and kill the orc. And because it's all in a text message, it's fairly short, fairly casual, and easy to get into. So it gives an opportunity for other writers who are actually creative, as opposed to me who just mix the content of a book off the internet, to actually go out and say, okay, let's write some short fiction. Let's write something where you can tell a story in 100 parts and navigate your way through them. So that's what I did. This is how I did it. Any questions? I should probably say, any questions from Joe? I just love it. So any questions from anyone else? Okay, I can go then. And I think this is the last time you'll see me up here, but I'm not sure about that. Don't bet on it.
Well, you've got some other hacks that you've not told us about that you think we might telepathically know about and sort of spring up there. Okay, we've still got a couple more hacks to go. So we've got Joe, Waves, and Nadia back with SM Simple next.
I want to dedicate this to Steve. So everything that I'm about to talk about, you can find on GitHub, github.com/isn't0/smsimple. So smsimple is a really simple node library written in TypeScript that encapsulates Symwood, TeleSign, Twilio APIs into a very simple, similar API. So it's not one function, it's a class that has a different function for each. Each method takes the config in a really standard way. Could be done using automatically extracting stuff from environment variables based on common environment name, variable names, but at the moment it's just in the constructor. And there's a normalize function, which is kind of the main useful thing that I found for this so far, which returns a type of valid phone number, which the sending messages will only receive valid phone number types. So this is just a nice little type-safe way of sending messages. It builds on top of the SymWood Node API, the TELUS-line Node API that they publish, and the Twilio one, the Steve's SymWood API nodes. So take note, it's got tests. Take that, Steve. So it is about 80 lines long at the moment, and it integration continuously builds and does test coverage checks through the TADHack, and it's tested with tape. We're aiming to have huge impact here. This is like a huge thing to change the way the world works. We're being used by Google+. I mean, we're being used by Time Journey, up there with Google+. We're being used by Facebook VR, which maybe is a thing. And soon we're going to be integrating with the Twilio backend. That's how big this is, okay? The code really is it's type safe, promise based. It's a one-stop shop, buzzword powered. Tested CI/CD BDD because it started off with a business problem. Originally TypeScript, runs on Node. We developed it in a really agile way. It's 80 lines long, and it makes SMS life sweet again. Okay, this is a really important innovation. So this is the team. I wrote some code, and then these ladies helped with there is actually a logo, which is cool. It's my first proper open source project with a logo. So there we go. Yeah, if you want to use it, go ahead. Don't tell me.
Thanks. Has anyone got any questions? Okay, I think you just bombed them into submission. Fantastic. Lily, I think you have a very tangled web you want to weave.
Hello, my name's Lily, and I'm a software engineer. And I also give talks on crochet and programming. And the rest of the time, when I'm not developing, I test crochet patterns for designers. Calls for testers are usually put on forums like Ravelry, which is a bit like GitHub but for young projects. The problem is, the new and ongoing threads on the forum tend to interweave and get missed. So if there's a new crochet test open, I might miss it because there's a lot of knitting open and I'm not interested in that yet. And since the places for testers are limited for each test, I made an SMS notifier using the SymWood Node API to tell me when new topics are created. So if I do a switch now, one moment. Right, so I've got a forum group on Ravelry, and if I start a new topic, the good thing with people asking for tests is they're very good at tagging it for knitting or crochet. So if I do that and include the keyword which I'm looking for, crochet, and start this topic, hopefully in a few seconds the puller will have picked that up and sent me a text saying, hey, there's a new test. Yes, webcam proof. There it is. Questions? Yes, Joe.
What are you using to do the following?
Set interval.
Set interval, cool.
Yeah.
Native APIs.
So participating in TADHack is fun, right? And I sat having a beer last night, and okay, I'm leaving this location, so I shouldn't be hacking or doing stuff like that. But Steve was telling me about his Node API for Simwood, and I sort of said, does it do SMS? And he sort of said, no, that'd be a brilliant thing for it to do. And I'd already got halfway through my first beer. And so sort of feeling a little bit kind of left out of all this hacking fun that's happening. Don't know why there's all this rubbish down here, doesn't matter about that. I thought, okay, so if I extended Steve's API to incorporate an SMS, I could connect it up to Google Dialogflow or something. I could go and implement a chatbot with a bit of personality. If you need personality, let's go Marvin the Paranoid Android, because you know that's a fun personality. And by the time I got onto my second beer, I convinced myself that between, I don't know, sort of 7 o'clock last night and when we pitched, I could create one of these things. So I came and sat down here dead quietly and ducked all the washing up and stuff like that, which is probably not so good, and set off to do that. So Steve's, what did I need to do? Well, there were about 4 things. First of all, I need the Simwood interface, so Steve done this fantastic, and he had done this fantastic thing, so I grabbed that 4 tip, that just worked out of the box. I needed to add SMS sending to that, so I kind of did that, that worked. Bit of SMS reception, that gets a bit harder because you need the incoming webhooks, so added an express server to it so that I could get the inbound text and then connect it up to Dialogflow. So by a couple of hours ago, I'd managed to do, well, most of that. Where did I actually get to with it? So, managed to get most of this code working, hooked it up to Dialogflow. So let's give it a go, actually. If I pop out of that and then whiz across to here. Got some SMS connected up to Dialogflow. One thing that I massively failed to do was actually get my Dialogflow Marvin personality properly implemented. I sort of implemented it on top of Google's Smalltalk template, and for whatever reason, I seem to be still getting Google's Smalltalk rather than my Marvin. So that's probably a fail on my part, and that's the bit that I should know. So here we go. And that's essentially sort of Simwood talking, a Simwood account receiving text, punting the text into a Dialogflow agent, and bringing the text back out. So how does it work and what's involved? Not a lot, actually. It was a pretty simple and easy hack. because of all that fine infrastructure that Steve put in place for me. Let's just get back to the presentation. So yeah, try it out. The agent is sitting there, it's running on my laptop, so as long as it stays on Wi-Fi. 44 UK 0537 149 228. Send some text to it and see how it responds. Who knows, when the Marvin personality cracks into life, you might get something useful out of it. But yeah, that was the hack. What's left to do, or what needs doing with it? Well, there's the code. I need to actually send the PR. I was going to do that live on screen, but I think I'm keeping everyone away from their beer, so I won't fumble that. And there are the URLs for it. So I forked Steve's repo, added in sending, receiving text. I'll push that back into his repo, and then the actual code for Marvin, which does the dialogue flow bit, is sitting in my GitHub /Marvin out there. That's it, really. It was just a bit of a hack, bit of fun, because I was feeling a bit sad and left out last night. Important things now. So what happens next? That really closed the thing down nicely, didn't it? What's happening next is we'll go to a little local judging huddle. There are some local prizes. The judges here have got the Proud Award on the day, and then the big TADHack prizes come out tomorrow. That should take us round about, well, I haven't seen ages. The quality of the hacks that we've seen today have just been absolutely phenomenal. London is fantastic. The quality of the hacks and the people that come here are just an absolute joy. So it's going to be a really tough job for the judges. One thing that would be quite important, actually, if you have got a GitHub URL, I know you put it in your presentations, but so that we can put it in the judging sheet that goes to the local judges. If you could email me your repo URLs and your team name to rob@applesay.uk. I'll stick that on screen before I leave. I'm not going to fumble now while I'm talking, but if you can email those to me in the next half hour, preferably before you leave this room, that would be fantastic. Judges will be going to a huddle in a moment. Please feel free to take yourself upstairs. I'll get some beer cracked out. So as long as you say to the judges one, then please relax and congratulate yourselves on a fantastic set of hacks. Big round of applause for everybody, please.
We just get a round of applause for Rob and the team for all the hard work and food and beer.